Commander Rails stood at the head of the briefing room, his three eyes blinking in sequence, a nervous habit he had developed over 20 cycles of military service. The holographic display behind him flickered to life, casting an ominous red glow across the faces of his squad. These were not ordinary soldiers. These were Cortex Void Reapers, defined Mr. Most Decorated, most absurdly overconfident warriors in the entire Galactic collection. They had stormed black holes. They had wrestled plasma eels on tour of Prime 4. They had survived dinner with the diplomatic corps, which, let us be honest, was arguably worse than actual combat. But today, Rail watched their mandibles twitch with something he had never seen before. Fear. "All right, listen up," Fell began, his voice carrying that special tone reserved for delivering catastrophically bad news. "High Command has assigned us a retrieval mission." Sergeant Clef, a Nand-armed veteran with more scars than sense, leaned forward. "Retrieval, Commander. We are Void Reapers. We do not fetch things. We conquer things. We destroy things. We occasionally redecorate things with plasma fire." "Yes, well," Fell clicked his mandibles together. "You are about to fetch something from Sector 7. The room went silent. Not the comfortable silence of professional soldiers awaiting orders. No, this was the silence of creatures who had just realized their life insurance premiums were about to become very, very relevant. "Sector 7, Lieutenant Brax whispered, her vocal sac deflating. "You mean the zone? The actual, literal, universally acknowledged death trap that we used to scare children into eating their nutrient paste?" "That would be the one, yes." Fell pulled up a three-dimensional map of the sector. It looked like someone had taken a perfectly good region of space and then asked a sadistic cartographer to mark every possible way to die horribly. Toxic atmosphere? Check. Acid rain? Double check. Predators with 16 different ways to dissolve your internal organs? Oh, you better believe that is at. This one had a reputation. 347 expeditions had gone in, 12 had come back, and those 12 survivors had immediately retired, changed their name, and opened quiet little shops selling yarn on peaceful outer rim worlds where the most dangerous thing was an overpriced latte. "The equipment we need to retrieve," Fell continued, ignoring the collective groan from his squad, "is a Class 7 sensor array that crashed there 6 months ago. High Command wants it back. Apparently it contains data worth more than all our lives combined." "How comforting," Clef muttered. "What is the projected survival rate for this mission?" Rail's middle eye switched. "The computers estimate somewhere between 4 and 7%. And the other 93%? Extremely dead." "How extremely?" The report used the phrase molecular dissociation 5 times. The squad exchanged glances. Molecular dissociation was not the fun kind of death. That was the kind of death where your descendants could not even collect your remains because your remains had become part of the local atmosphere. "But wait," Fell said, her voice climbing an octave. "There is more, is there not? You have that look, that I'm about to make this exponentially worse look." Rail nodded slowly. He pulled up another image on the display. It was a thermal scan of the zone, taken from a long-range probe. Right in the center, in the absolute worst, most literally hostile part of that nightmarish landscape, was a heat signature. The structure and movement. Someone, Rail said carefully, is living there. The silence that followed could have suffocated a supernova. "Living there," Clef repeated, his voice flat. "In the zone, the place where the atmosphere eats through hull plating, the place where it rains acid, the place where the soil itself is classified as a war crime in 47 systems. Correct, someone is living there voluntarily. All evidence suggests yes." Brax leaned back in her chair so hard it creaked. What kind of creature, what kind of absolute nightmare beast from the darkest corner of evolutionary mistakes could possibly survive in that environment? Fell hesitated. He pulled up the final image. It was grainy, taken from maximum safe distance, but it was clear enough. A bipedal figure, 2 arms, 2 legs, relatively small, almost fragile-looking. Preliminary scans suggest, Rail said quietly, it is human. The room exploded with noise, laughter, nervous clicking, and several very creative curse words in languages that had not been spoken in millennia. A human? Clef was wheezing now. Those little pink things from the backwater spiral arm? Those creatures live on a paradise world. They have flowers and sunshine and liquid water that does not burn. What is one doing in the zone? Fell closed all 3 of his eyes and sighed. That, he said, is exactly what we're going to find out. The transport shuttle rattled like a dying refrigerator as it descended through the upper atmosphere of Sector 7. Fell gripped his command console, watching the hull integrity readings drop with each passing second. 14% degradation, 18, 22, and they hadn't even reached the ground yet. "Remind me again," Clef said from his seat, checking his environmental suit for the 9th time in as many minutes, "why we volunteered for this?" "We did not volunteer," Fell corrected him, her own suit seals hissing as she double-checked every connection. "The commander volunteered us. There's a significant difference." "I feel it is important to clarify," Fell interjected, not taking his eyes off the sensors, "that I also did not volunteer. High Command voluntold us, all of us, which is a beautiful military tradition, meaning we have no choice whatsoever." The shuttle broke through the cloud layer and, as one, revealed itself in all its horrifying glory. It was, to put it mildly, aggressively hostile to life. The landscape stretched out below them like the fever dream of a particularly disturbed planetary geologist. The ground was not brown or gray like sensible planets. No, it was a mottled purple and green, which, according to the sensors, meant the soil had a pH level of 2.3. For context, that was more acidic than the stomach fluids of a terravore slug, and those things could digest starship hulls. Rain fell in sheets, except it wasn't water. The chemical analysis scrolling across Rail's screen suggested it was a delightful cocktail of sulfuric compounds, dissolved metals, and something the computer had labeled as unknown corrosive agent. Approach with extreme caution and possibly a last will and testament. Lightning cracked across the sky, except it was green, not the fun green of bioluminescent algae, the green of toxic gas igniting in the upper atmosphere. "I have changed my mind," Clef announced. "I would like to be anywhere else. A black hole, a supernova, the annual budget meeting, literally anywhere." "Noted and denied," Fell replied. "Prepare for landing." The shuttle touched down on the least deadly-looking patch of ground they could find, which was like choosing the friendliest-looking shark in a feeding frenzy. The landing struts hissed and began dissolving immediate. "Hull integrity at 61%, the ship computer announced, in that calm, pleasant voice that computers used when delivering catastrophic news. "Estimated time for critical failure, 17 minutes. 17 minutes? Brax's voice climbed another octave. "We're supposed to trek through this nightmare, find the sensor array, and get back in 17 minutes? "No," Fell said, standing and checking his personal shield generator. "We're not coming back to this." The squad stared at him. "We are walking out?" Clef asked, slowly. "High Command has authorized an extraction team to pick us up at the northern perimeter, approximately 8 kilometers from here." Though wonderful, a light stroll through hell. How refreshing. They descended the ramp, and within 3 steps, Fell understood why the survival rate was so low. His boots, military grade, designed to withstand orbital bombardment, began smoking. The air itself felt wrong, pressing against his environmental suit. It was personally offended by his existence. Brax took readings with her handheld scanner. Atmospheric composition is 62% toxic, 31% corrosive, and 7% what I can only describe as aggressively malicious. Temperature is fluctuating between 40 and 90 degrees. Radiation levels are, enough to sterilize a small moon. "And someone lives here?" Clef muttered, scanning the horizon. "Voluntarily?" They moved forward in formation, weapons drawn, though Rail suspected shooting the environment would be spectacularly unhelpful. Every few meters something new tried to kill them. Plants that spat acid when they got too close, geysers that erupted without warning, screaming superheated toxic sludge. The ground itself occasionally opened up into sinkholes filled with what the scanner described as liquefied death. 2 kilometers in, they sighted a structure, barely visible through the haze of toxic fog. "Is that—" Vex zoomed in with her optical enhancers. "Is that a tent?" It was indeed a tent, not a fortified bunker, not an armored habitat, a tent. The kind of flimsy, recreational, let's go camping and enjoy nature tent that